Hey everyone, it's Tom Trush from Right Way Solutions, and today I'm going to talk about how to write compelling copy by breaking the rules. Now, if there's one concern that I hear over and over again from clients and prospects, is that they tell me they don't know how to write. And when I hear this, my first thought, I go back to middle school, elementary school, in English class, because back then, when you were taught how to write, the teachers are telling you all of these rules that you need to follow. But the truth is, if you want to write words that are designed to sell, then you need to learn how to break some of these rules. And when I first began writing copy, this was one of my biggest challenges because my mom is a retired English teacher. She would constantly remind my brother and I of these rules. And so when I started writing copy, I had her voice in the back of my head telling me about how I should be following these rules. But if you think about it, in daily conversations, you're more likely to use short sentences, small words, even sentence fragments. It's easy for people to understand those things. And so it's no wonder if you write in the same style, then your message will be easier to understand. Unfortunately, there's plenty of people who think that by using the long words and elaborate adjectives and industry jargon, that it makes them sound more educated. But the truth of the matter is that when people see those types of things, it makes your writing really unpleasant to read. And what happens then is your message gets misunderstood, or people don't even read it at all. So the key is prospects, they need to relate to what you're saying if you want them to take desired action. The best way to do that is to write the way that they are speaking. So when writing for promotional purposes, here are a few quick rules that you can break. The first one is, don't forget or don't be afraid to start a sentence with and or but. And that's something that goes against English teachers, what they told you from day one. You can't start a sentence with and or but give it a try. It's the way that we speak, and I think you'll see that it makes your writing easier to understand. The next thing, as I touched on this before, is don't be afraid to use sentence fragments. And if anything, when you're using sentence fragments, sometimes they give your thoughts even greater emphasis, so they can be extremely powerful. And also, don't avoid one-sentence paragraphs. And this is something that goes against English teachers. Again, from day one, they tell you don't do a one-sentence paragraph. But if you think about it, when you're looking at a page of copy, if you see this huge chunk of black text, it's intimidating. Who wants to read something like that? In one-sentence paragraphs, they break up the flow a little bit, so they make your copy easier to read and understand. The same goes for headers. And also, don't be afraid to use contractions. Again, going back to the way we speak, we use contractions all the time when we're speaking, so use them in your copy. And then finally, don't rely too much on your thesaurus. Like I said before, people think by using really long words or elaborate adjectives that they're getting their point across and they sound more educated. But the opposite is true. I mean, people just, they have a hard time. If they're intimidated by your writing, they aren't going to read it. So if a 3 or 4 word letter works, or 3 or 4 letter word works better than a lengthy word, use that instead of something that's 10, 12 letters long. And just one, I guess, final point or tip that I want to give you is don't be afraid to use the ellipsis. I love using ellipsis. And if you're not familiar with an ellipsis, all it is just the 3 consecutive dots, dot, dot, dot. And what that does is when people see that, immediately in their subconscious mind, they see that as a thought that isn't quite complete. So you can use a sentence fragment, end it, or a complete sentence, end it with the ellipsis, and often people will continue reading because they want to get to the end of that particular thought. The curiosity, you're incorporating curiosity into your writing when you do that. And of course, when deciding whether to use these tips, you always want to think about your audience. And a good rule of thumb is to just match your writing to the conversational tone you would use when speaking in front of the audience that you're targeting. So just think about if you're standing in front of a group of people, how would you talk to them? All you have to do is just then convert that over to your writing, and it makes it really easy. So good luck with your writing. I hope these tips help, and for additional information on or more writing tips, please feel free to go to www.writewaysolutions.com. That's WRITEWAY and the word solutions.com.